let's quickly see what is the exercise. So as we mentioned earlier, so what we are kind of doing here is to continue from the exercise 6. So we take the data from that you basically did and kind of generated in exercise 6. So the problem 2 and 3 in there. So we use the weather anomalies as kind of starting point and visualize that. The first problem here is just to actually take the data from exercise 6 and save it as a CSV file, and that's the first part. Quite easy to do. The second, the problem 1 here is also fairly easy. So we just want to make a basic plot from to using the month column and then the temperatures in Celsius. Then the fun part starts. So I don't know, do you want to say a few words of this, or is it something? What we want you to do is to create this kind of plot. So we have the winter, spring, summer and fall weather anomalies presented. No, they are temperatures actually, yeah. Yeah, but they are the weather anomalies.
It's actually temperature anomaly.
Yeah, temperature anomaly.
But yeah, basically this is what we hope would turn out to be kind of an interesting way to visualize the data, and that is to look at the different seasons and how the seasonal average temperatures have changed over the last 65 years. And in some cases you can see a bit of a warming trend, in other cases you don't necessarily see that. Like winter is just pretty noisy. So what you see is that there's a lot of variability in temperature, but not necessarily a clear trend. But the point is to try and look at this data and see, what can we pull out? Do we see, for instance, in Helsinki, a clear warming? And I would say in some cases yes, in some cases no.
And the problem 3 is basically this is our version of the the plot that we saw, the motivation plot in the lection 1. It's not as cool as that, but it kind of gives you an idea what can be done. So what we have here is exactly the same data as in problem 2, and what we do is create this kind of animation. So what we have here is basically that we take here at the time and make this kind of bar plot using this standardized y-axis, and then just plot the winter, spring, summer and fall anomalies and basically create this kind of animation. So how this is done is basically that you actually create 65 individual plots and save them into a separate folder, and then I will give you in the hints page basically a script. It's really easy to do, but basically how to actually create this kind of animation. So this is a GIF file basically, using those plots that you created to make this kind of nice animation with certain speed and so on. So that's kind of the problem, and there is one extra problem basically. Just I will also make an example here later, but to use data from Helsinki and data from Sodankylä. So this last one is an optional one, so you don't need to do it. But if you are interested, you can kind of see how the difference between Helsinki and Sodankylä has been with these years.
And maybe one thing to note about both of these plots is you can kind of look at them as, you should have these pieces in the plot that you end up making, but if you want to make it look nicer, you can do that. If you want to make the color bars so that, like, instead of having a solid blue color for winter, for instance, that it changes the color based on a positive or negative anomaly, you can do things like that, and we can maybe help a bit with that. There are ways to do things like make the plots look a little bit nicer with a little more formatting, but as you'll probably see when you get into the details of formatting in Matplotlib, it can become a bit time consuming to really precisely modify different things. So we didn't want to make everyone do that.
Yeah.
Certainly, if you like tinkering with the plots and want to make them look pretty, you're welcome to do that.
Yeah, I guess we are not really proud of these visualizations that we made here. They're not the prettiest ones, but I guess you get the idea of them. But yeah, if you want to use some time, please choose pretty colors and stuff. So. So yeah, that's a good question. So next week will be kind of period, like week between periods. So there won't be any teaching on that week, and I guess practicals are not there either.
No, I don't think so. There's nothing scheduled in the course for next week, and then after when we come back in the start of period 2, we will go our separate ways and start having separate meetings for the GIS and geology.
Yeah, and the important thing to remember is that the day of the lectures actually change. So we will have the lectures on Mondays after the period or in period 2.
So we can try to maybe send a reminder in the Slack.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what we're going to do, whether we keep using that same Slack for both courses or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
We need to sort that out.
Yeah. Yeah, but hopefully you learned a lot during this first period. I think you all have learned a lot. In 7 weeks, it's quite remarkable where we can already go with these things.
And don't forget, if you want things like this poster, come down and get them now.